This is station W2XK, an experimental transmitter of the National Broadcasting Company. We are operating on a frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows.
I'm sure this occasion must be as gratifying to you as it is to me and to the rest of us. Ever since you joined the Radio Corporation of America some 14 years ago, you have heard us talk about this new child television. You've watched it come from the cradle and learn to creep, and today, I'm glad to say, marks a new epoch in the development of this child.
I suppose it really climaxes in the fact that you and I are the first actors on the television stage. It's always a great satisfaction when you get within the sight of the end of any great job nearing completion. The gentlemen who, I understand, are in a room somewhat distant from this studio are really seeing what is the result of many years of hard, unremitting effort on the part of our RCA research engineers.
Well, that's right, General. It seems rather anomalous for me to be an actor today. I thought a few months ago when we sold part of our interest in the RKO that I was getting out of the movie business. But here I am in it again. There's something tremendously fascinating about all these lights and the glamour, but I don't think you and I are going to be great competitors out in Hollywood with some of the other figures there.
Probably not, but I can perhaps judge it a little better if I take a look at you to see what the lights are doing.
All right.
Excuse me. I can't say that I'm actually glad to see you gentlemen this afternoon, but I am very glad to have you see me. And later on in the day, I hope to have the pleasure of meeting you. Goodbye, David.
See you later, General.
Mr. Lennox Law to see you, Mr. Sawdoff.
Will you send him in, please?
You come this way, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Sawdoff.
Hello, Mr. Law. How are you? What's on your mind today?
Well, it seems to me that this demonstration we're going to have today is going to open up a tremendous new field for the National Broadcasting Company.
Well, I hope it will. I'm sure it'll open up a new field for the entire radio industry. Of course, to you who have been trained technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows them. But I think we've proceeded far enough to justify the statement, at least, that these technical problems are not insurmountable. And I want to take this occasion, Mr. Lord, to congratulate you and the boys who are working with you on the splendid results achieved. I know how hard they worked. I know that we've rushed them tremendously to make ready this particular demonstration, which really required some more time. But here we are, and I hope we'll have a show.
Thank you. Well, television, when it comes, is going to open marvelous opportunities for public education and entertainment. But it's also going to have serious problems in operation and in programming.
Yes, it'll have many problems on many fronts, and I'm glad that I don't have to solve them all myself. I'll let you boys do the rest. Well, now, as I understand it, there's some arrangement been effected here whereby a show will be put on. It will go over from here to the Empire State Building over the coaxial cable, and from there out in the air, and the results are to be seen on the 62nd floor of this building, I believe. And perhaps you and I would do better to go up there and look at some real actors.
That'd be very nice.
It is with much pleasure that the Radio Corporation of America welcomes its licensees to a demonstration today of television broadcasting. I will now introduce some of the early arrivals for the demonstration. Mr. Leslie Muter, President of the Radio Manufacturers Association for his third term.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen?
Mr. James Swank, the genial right hand of Mr. A. Atwater Kent.
I'm very happy to be present at this demonstration today.
Mr. Jack Rogers, Vice President of Crosley Radio Corporation and the radio industry's leading golf referee.
Glad to be here.
Mr. Ed Poor, Chairman of the Board of High Grade Sylvania and the only left-handed golfer that hits them straight.
I trust the machine is doing us justice. We were not selected for our appearance, but for our courage.
Mr. Harry Sparks, Vice President and General Manager of the Sparks Withington Company. We wish that his father, Captain Sparks, could also be present today.
He's playing down in Florida.
Mr. J.R. Howland of the Philadelphia Storage Battery Company.
It's a pleasure to be one of the early televisitors.
Mr. Ernest Alschuler of the Electrical Research Laboratories.
It is indeed a pleasure to be in this initial trial for television.
Mr. A.S. Wells, President of the Wells Gardner Company and the Svithiat Singing Club.
I'm very glad to be one of those who are present today.
Mr. Ben Abrams, President of the Emerson Company and a Director of the Radio Manufacturers Association.
Thank you for your invitation. I'm glad to be here with you.
The antenna from which the program will be transmitted is clearly visible from here on top of the Empire State Building. The receivers are located on the 62nd floor of the RCA building.
Visiting Virginia, the cradle of democracy, President Roosevelt dedicated Shenandoah National Park as America's newest vacation spot. The president pointed out the scenic beauty of the Old Dominion wonderland. At Monticello, the shrine of Thomas Jefferson, the president paid his tribute to the founder of democracy.
There are periods in history when one man seems great because those who stand beside him are small. Jefferson was great in the presence of many great and free men. Our problems of 1936 call us greatly for the continuation of imagination and energy and capacity for responsibility, as did the age of Thomas Jefferson and his fellows. It is not beyond our power to relight that sacred fire. There are no limitations upon the nation's capacity to obtain and maintain true freedom, no limitations except the strength of our nation's desire and determination.
Pathé News brings you the historic last act of the League of Nations drama on sanctions, the plea of Ethiopia's fugitive ruler, Haile Selassie. An emperor without an empire, he was applauded by the representatives of the nations which abandoned him and jeered by Italian newspapermen. Speaking in Amharic, he begged the League for justice, asking, "What reply have I to take back to my people?" His plea rejected, he stands forth as the most lonely figure in modern history, the League's forgotten man. Chicago, Illinois. Here's a vacation special, the Flying Mercury of the New York Central running from Cleveland to Detroit. Inside the new train is a hotel on rails with a unique diner. The lounge car has a service bar where cocktails can be shaken by hand instead of by the train. An iron horse that may be a real favorite in the railroad sweepstakes.
Silhouetted against the New York skyline at Rockefeller Center, the Radio City Music Hall Ballet does its famous water lily dance in the gardens of the nations, where rhythm rules amid the skyscrapers.
Olympic form, the last word in human speed and stamina, marked the national AAU meet at Princeton, New Jersey, giving America a preview of its Olympic track and field stars in action. The 100-meter dash. And they're off with Jesse Owens, the brown flash of Ohio State, charging right to the front to run away with the race and tie the record. Again, in the broad jump, it's Jesse Owens, leaping 26 feet, 3 inches to equal another record. In the pole vault, these slow-motion pictures show the form, the poetry of motion that enabled the entries to try for a new world's record. And here is Baroff, pole vaulting to a new world's record, 14 feet, 6.5 inches. Again, slow motion in the high jump reveals the form of Cornelius Johnson, the winner. In the high hurdles, this slow motion start gives you a chance to study the championship form of a fast field, with Towns of Georgia farthest from the camera, stepping out to tie the world's record. And there he goes. And now, they're off in the 1,500-meter run, with Fedorov setting the pace for the 11-man field. Around the first turn, Cunningham and Bonstrom bring up the rear. But in the home stretch, the flying feet of the favorite start a man-killing sprint. There's Cunningham bounding ahead. The dark-shirted Kansan lunging into the lead with resistless power. Look at San Romani on the outside, making a desperate effort to overhaul him. But Cunningham stands him off. The speed of a champion.
You remember to have a very short introduction to your first girl and to have her enter the set at the end of your first sentence. You understand that?
Yes, she's coming right on as soon as we begin.
That's right.
You got that signal?
I'm almost afraid to tell you, gentlemen, that we've planned a fashion show for you. I can imagine what you say when your wives try to drag you to a fashion show. But this is different. You don't have to budge. Of course, if you get bored looking at the beautiful girls, you can turn your chair around, but you don't have to, since there's no one here but just us boys. Let's see now what our first model is wearing. You might think that this is a beach costume, but it isn't. This is the newest for dinner wear. Yes, the girls are wearing trousers from morning till night this summer. She's wearing white gabardine dinner slacks with that sparkling sequin jacket. But there was a little shortage of material when they made up this outfit. We'll have to apologize for a bare space between the trousers and the top. I don't know, maybe we don't need to apologize. Norvell, won't you take off your jacket and let these men decide whether or not they approve of dinner slacks? And whether we need to apologize? My, quite a shortage there in the back, I didn't realize. Incidentally, these fashions are all from Bonwit Teller. The girls are from Bonwit Teller, too. But then, of course, you wouldn't be interested in that. Of course not. Now, we chose this next model just so you wouldn't think that trousers have completely replaced the skirt. The old-fashioned skirt is still seen now and again. And here's something that you men ought to note with joy. Look how much shorter ermine capes are getting. It used to be that when a man got his wife an ermine coat, he had to get it clear down to the floor. But you want to remind her the next time she mentions ermine that elbow length is very, very smart. Now, Asta, do you suppose you could slip off that cape? Just toss it on the floor. A little ermine is nothing to us, a few $1,000s worth. And then if you'll turn around so that the gentleman can see the bustled back on your taffeta evening gown. This is a sort of combination bustle back and hoop skirt. You know that skirt is really and truly wired underneath to make it stick out a little more. You men had better practice up on your dancing. You know, it's no cinch to dance a rumba with a girl in a hoop skirt. A fellow has to have pretty good control of his feet. Do any of you want to step forward and try it? I'm afraid not, Asta. I'm afraid they're all too modest. But maybe you'll hear from some of them later. Now, in this next dress, the important thing that you want to notice is the line. Alice May, will you turn all around so that the men can get the full effect of the very smart line of this dress? This is a midsummer fashion for lunch, tea, or cocktails. And Alice May says preferably cocktails. I know that you want to be up on the very latest French words, so this is Sea Lion Ciré, C-I-R-E. It means satin with a coating of wax. And the hat is of the same material. Now, a woman would call this outfit very slinky. But I asked Mr. O.B. Hanson what he would call it, and he said, well, she's certainly okay. The only thing that Alice May needs is a nice big corsage of gardenias. Isn't there someone in the audience who would step forward and give this little girl a corsage of gardenias? Oh, I'm afraid you're not quite quick enough. You see, she's going away. She's not going to wait any longer. And the next model has plenty of flowers. You can't give her any more because her negligee is all covered with white carnations and white orchids. Now, this brings up a very interesting point. A gown of this kind is called a negligee if you wear it in the bedroom. But you want to be very careful. It's sometimes a hostess gown. And if you go for dinner this summer and your hostess is wearing an outfit like this, you want to be sure not to say what a lovely negligee you have on. It all depends on where it's being worn. This, I remembered something. Now, over in Paris, when they announce fashion shows, they always give numbers. They say this is model 60 or something like that. I think we'd better be a little more practical today. This number is Butterfield 8. 0662. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Don't you like that widow's peak that Yvonne has? That's something you can't acquire just all of a sudden. Well, here comes Norvell again. Looks to me as if she's taken off those dinner slacks. Surely enough, she's wearing a real beach outfit now. That's the good girl, so we can see it, a black satin lastex swimsuit. Now, all the fashion experts say that this looks exactly like a wet seal. I don't know about that. Do you think so? She doesn't look much like a wet seal to me. The most important thing about a suit like this is the figure of the girl who wears it. And the general idea, you see, is to have it look as if it's a coat of black enamel. But you want to be very careful. Don't give a satin lastex swimsuit to a girl whose figure wouldn't do right by her. And now, Norvelli is blowing you a goodbye kiss before she goes back to Bonwit Teller. And we're going to fade out our fashion show, but don't you worry. You'll see a lot more satin bathing suits if you spend your vacation at a beach. And Norvell says she'll be looking for you.